I remember just like it was yesterday. The first time he told me I was crazy. Not in a playful way. Not in a cute, you're so wild kind of way. No. I was sitting in his car, the same car where he'd once kissed me so softly it felt like a movie scene, and now he looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're imagining things again. You always do this." And the worst part? I believed him. It didn't start that way. Of course not. He was a dream. He knew exactly what to say, exactly how to touch me, how to hold eye contact just long enough to make me feel like I was the only person in the world. He listened. He remembered things. Little things like the name of my childhood cat or the song I cried to in high school. And slowly, that attention turned into oxygen. I needed it. Needed him. So when things started to feel off, I told myself I was overreacting. I didn't want to lose the only person who had ever really seen me. Or so I thought. What I didn't know then was that I was already caught in the web. That my reality was being rewritten moment by moment. That I was being conditioned to distrust my own feelings. And that the man who once called me his world would later look at me like I was a stranger standing in the way of his mirror. He didn't just make me feel loved. He made me feel chosen. Like I was finally enough. And in my desperation to keep that feeling, I missed the slow unraveling of my identity. If you've ever questioned your own sanity in a relationship, if you've ever felt like you were being hollowed out from the inside and still smiled for pictures, keep watching. Because this is the story of how I fell in love with a narcissist. And how I didn't even realize it until I was already drowning. It started on a random Tuesday night. I wasn't even supposed to go out. A friend had dragged me to a local bar to get over a breakup that still ached in my chest like a dull bruise. I didn't want to meet anyone. I didn't want to talk. But there he was, leaning against the bar like he was exactly where he was meant to be, smiling like he already knew me. And when he walked over, I felt something electric. Maybe it was the way he didn't try too hard. Maybe it was how he said my name like he already knew it would matter. Or maybe it was just that he looked at me like I was the most fascinating thing in the room. We talked for hours that night. It felt like we were both reaching for something, and somehow, we found it in each other. Within days, he was texting me good morning. Within a week, he was bringing me coffee. Within a month, he knew the names of all my coworkers and had dinner with my mom. It was fast. Too fast. But it felt like a miracle. He said he'd never felt this way before. That I was different. That I made him feel safe, alive, understood. He showered me with compliments, gifts, attention. If I mentioned something I liked, it showed up the next day. If I said I felt insecure, he held my face and whispered, "How could someone like you not know how incredible you are?" For the first time in my life, I felt truly adored. I felt seen in ways I never had before. Every conversation was deep. Every look he gave me felt intentional. Like I mattered. More than I ever had. My friends thought it was intense. Some joked that he was too into me. My mom said it was sweet but maybe a little fast. I brushed them off. They didn't understand. They hadn't seen the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. He called me his soulmate. Said we had a connection unlike anything he'd experienced. He talked about our future, about kids, a house, growing old together. I felt like I was living in a romantic movie, the kind I used to cry over late at night. Looking back, I understand now. That was the hook, the love bombing, the intense, overwhelming devotion designed to make me feel chosen so that I'd cling to it when the mask began to slip. But in that moment, I was all in. I wasn't just in love. I was addicted. The shift was subtle. At first, it started with small things, little corrections. "You didn't tell the story right," he'd say with a laugh. Or, "That's not how it happened." At first, I brushed it off. He was just clarifying. But then it got worse. "You're too sensitive. You always make everything about you. God, I can't even have a normal conversation without you twisting it. I started to doubt myself. I recorded voicemails to prove to myself that I wasn't misremembering. I reread texts, scoured them for signs that I was the one being difficult. I stopped telling friends about our fights. I didn't want them to think I was crazy too. He didn't like some of my friends. He said that they were a bad influence, that they didn't really care about me. He'd sigh when I mentioned going out, but I thought we were spending the night together. I rearranged my whole schedule. Who are you going out to meet? So I ended up staying home. It actually started to become easier to stay home. He knew how to twist every situation until I was the villain. If I got upset, I was manic and needed medication. If I cried, I was faking it. If I asked for space, I was cheating on him. I learned to shrink myself, just to keep things peaceful. I stopped bringing up concerns. I knew that talking about it wouldn't go anywhere productive. So instead, I just smiled when inside I really just wanted to scream. And the lies. Oh God, the lies. When he didn't come home, he would say that he was working late, but then I would see his car parked near a restaurant across town. He would get calls from women and tell me it was his cousin. But she didn't sound like family. When I asked him about it, he just turned it back on me. You're crazy and unstable. He weaponized my love, my loyalty, my hope. He even convinced a few of my friends that I was unstable, that I was emotionally fragile, always reading into things. One night, after a blowout argument where I finally screamed that I couldn't take it anymore, he calmly texted my best friend and said, "I think she's having a breakdown. I'm really worried about her." She believed him. By then, I didn't even trust my own instincts. I kept trying harder. I bought self-help books. I read articles about communication. I told myself that if I could just be better, calmer, more patient, it would go back to how it was. But it never did. The night I left, I thought I was going to die. Not because he hit me. He never did. He didn't have to. He used words like weapons and silence like a noose, and believe it or not, those hurt worse than if he had hit me. But that night, he got close. Too close. We were fighting again. I don't even remember what started it. He was pacing, yelling, accusing me of cheating. I wasn't. I never had. But it didn't matter. Nothing mattered. He grabbed my phone and smashed it. Pinned me against the wall. Didn't hit me, but his breath was on my face. His voice was in my ear, and I could feel the threat in his body. I froze, and in that stillness, something broke. Not in a dramatic, movie-worthy way. Quietly. A soft snapping inside my soul. A voice I hadn't heard in months whispered, "This is not love." The next morning, I packed a bag. I didn't tell him. I waited until he went to work. And I left a note that simply said, "This isn't safe. I need space." I went to my sister's house and turned off my phone. I cried for 3 days straight. He showed up, of course. He texted, emailed, left voicemails that swung between sobbing apologies and cold threats. "You're throwing everything away," he said. "If you just got counseling and medication, we could be happy again." I believed that for a while. But I left anyway. I left with nothing. Just a suitcase and a heart that felt like it had been through a war. I lost friends, time, pieces of myself I'm still learning to reclaim. But through it all, I also found something that I was missing for a while. Myself. Healing didn't come fast. It came in fragments. It was actually the slowest healing breakup that I have ever had due to the fact that I had never experienced anything like that in a relationship before. I remember sitting in therapy, trying to explain what had happened, and my therapist said, "Have you ever heard about narcissistic abuse?" I hadn't. I didn't even really know what a narcissist was beyond the stereotype that has been mentioned more than I had remembered. So I started to research. I started with red flags of a narcissist. And something clicked. the love bombing, the gaslighting, the devaluation, all of the cycles, the mask. It was like reading a script of my own life. I started naming things, not excuses but truths. That it wasn't a relationship, it was control. That it wasn't love, it was possession. That I hadn't been weak, I had been conditioned. I was just a source to him for validation and admiration, and if I wasn't giving him what he needed at the time, then he would seek it elsewhere. I immediately cut off all contact. No texts, no closure, no check-ins. I blocked him on everything. It hurt, but it helped me to become stronger than I was before. It helped me heal faster. I learned boundaries. I learned that no is a full sentence. I learned to sit with discomfort instead of trying to fix everything. The path that I started to go down with this man was definitely not a life I wanted to live or a future that I wanted to have. Eventually, I started writing again. Seeing friends that I hadn't seen in a while, I felt my life slowly coming back together. It was so nice to be able to laugh without the fear of what he'd think or accuse me of. I bought myself flowers, took long, peaceful walks, cried in the shower, a lot, screamed in the car, prayed, breathed. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and kept going in the right direction without looking back. However, if I could go back, I wouldn't shame that version of me who stayed too long. I would hold her. I would tell her, "You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And you will survive this." Because now I know narcissistic abuse is real. It's insidious. And it doesn't leave bruises that people can see. And the healing? That's real too. If you're watching this video and if any part of this felt familiar, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You are not overreacting. You are not too broken to heal. And most importantly, you are not crazy. There is life after this. There is love after this. There is you after this. I see you. And I believe you. If this story made you feel less alone, please share your truth in the comments. Or drop a heart in the comments if you're not ready to talk but want to say, "Me too." This space is for us. For the survivors. For the voices that were silenced. For the people learning to love themselves again. Subscribe for more stories like this. True stories of pain, survival, and the strength it takes to rise. We will all rise together, but better versions of ourselves.